She appeared at the edge of my porch, posture rigid, eyes sharp with authority that no one had given her. "Hand over the animal," she ordered, voice low and deliberate, as if reciting from a rule book only she believed in. Unauthorized creatures aren't permitted in the conservation zone. For a moment, I thought she was joking. The small fox in my partner's arms had been rescued only a week ago, frail, trembling, still nursing from a bottle. My partner's expression froze, then hardened into disbelief. "You're out of your mind," she said. But the woman, Martha, didn't flinch. Section 12, paragraph 3. You didn't file a rescue disclosure form. That animal isn't registered with the community. She produced a glossy document, something clearly printed at home, complete with a meaningless barcode and a fake seal that shimmered under the porch light. She shoved it toward me like a warrant. I said nothing, because something in me had already decided this wouldn't end through argument. "I've contacted the Wildlife Compliance Board," she went on confidently. "They'll arrive shortly. If you interfere, the animal will be confiscated and placed in authorized custody." My jaw tightened. This was our land, bought outright, outside any zoning control, and with official exemption letters pinned to our deed. She knew none of that. She was just the kind of person who believed a clipboard made her invincible. "Please," my partner murmured. "Stop her." But I remained still, composed, because Martha had no idea who she was confronting. She didn't know the years I'd spent in covert fieldwork, or that this quiet sanctuary was chosen, precisely because I'd sworn never to raise my voice again. And she certainly didn't know that the so-called wildlife board she'd contacted was being rerouted through an encrypted server I controlled. Martha strutted away, phone pressed to her ear, barking orders like a general. Her boots clacked down the gravel, echoing through the twilight. Words like illegal, harboring, public safety, and mandatory extraction carrying through the wind, each one sealing her fate. My partner folded down onto the step. The small rescuer curled against her chest, its breath faint and warm against her palms. I sank beside her, close enough to feel the tremor in her shoulder. "Don't let go," I whispered. "Keep it against you. Let them show themselves." About 15 minutes later, a matte black SUV eased up the lane with no plate to speak of. 3 men stepped out in matching navy polos, a stitched badge reading Community Safety Unit over their hearts. No metal emblems, no court papers, and only worn clipboards and discreet earpieces. One of them lifted a pair of reflective glasses even though the dusk was soft. It felt staged, like someone had dressed extras for a role. The neighbor who'd set this all in motion sprinted forward, cheeks flushed, hand accusingly raised. "There they are," she crowed triumphant. Harbored on private property, unreported, the tallest of the trio produced a laminated sheet and marched straight toward us with the confidence of someone who had practiced the walk. "Sir," he intoned in a practiced, flat cadence, "we're operating under the authority of the Private Residence Oversight Council. You are required to surrender the animal into temporary custody." I stood up before he could finish. "Save your breath," I said, my voice level. "You are not a law enforcement officer. Those shirts don't make you lawful on private land. Who certified you?" He hesitated, tried to puff his chest, and spat out the phrase he'd been trained to say, "Failure to comply is a breach." I closed a few steps and held his gaze until it wavered. "I know who you are," I told him. "You're Hector Raines. Ran a shadow. Security outfit out of Bay Bridge until your license was revoked. And the man at the rear? Milo Park. 2 protection orders. One from a former partner, another filed by a neighbor, both accessible on public record. They opened their mouths and found nothing that sounded like authority." The woman staggered back, aghast. "How would you even—" she began. I tipped my chin. "Because when you phoned your little posse, your number pinged a channel watched by someone with real clearance. And by clearance, I mean the kind of access that lets me retrieve certified records faster than you can flash a bogus badge. For a long beat there was only the whisper of fabric and the dark hum of the SUV's engine, and then their bravado deflated into embarrassed silence. For the first time, Martha's voice broke off into silence. The imitation officers exchanged uneasy glances, one lifting a hand toward his earpiece as though pretending to adjust it, but the gesture reeked of panic. He was trying to call someone, to flee, to make this vanish. Too late. Headlights swept over the trees at the end of the lane. Two dark sedans glided around the corner. These ones carried proper plates, embossed with an agency crest. No sirens, no flashing lights, just the heavy certainty of real authority. Martha's expression crumpled. What is this?" she stammered. I met her eyes, steady as a calm sea before a storm. "You chose the wrong creature and the wrong man to corner." The sedans rolled to a stop in silence. 4 plainclothes operatives stepped out, their movements deliberate and unhurried. They didn't need to brandish anything. The air shifted with their presence. Martha backed up, palms raised. "Wait, hold on, this is unnecessary. I was only following regulation." One of the agents, a tall figure with a faint scar slicing through his left brow, raised a badge. "Agent Sloan, Department of Federal Wildlife and Land Integrity. We received a report of unlawful seizure attempt, impersonation of officials, and harassment on private property." Martha froze, color draining from her face. No, you don't understand. I'm the Conservation Committee chair." Sloan didn't blink. "There is no registered committee within 5 miles of this address. We verified. You're not listed with county records, the state, or any governing body. You've issued 42 falsified citations in 6 months under a fabricated organization. That's criminal misrepresentation." The men in mock uniforms shifted toward their SUV, trying to slip away unnoticed. But Sloan's partner spoke first, calm and cold. "Don't. Vehicle's already disabled." "Stay where you are." Martha's panic hardened into accusation. "He's the threat," she shrieked, jabbing a trembling finger at me. "You don't know what he's capable of. He's dangerous." Sloan turned his gaze toward me, studied me for half a second, and gave a measured nod. "Actually," he said, "we know exactly who he is." Martha's mouth parted in disbelief. Sloan faced her again. "That's Commander Alex Vance. 12 years in covert environmental intelligence. 3 covert assignments. Commendation for valor, the soil beneath your feet. Paid for in full, every document verified by the state. The cabin reinforced with restricted grade security. And that animal, legally protected under federal wildlife conservation statutes, given who's responsible for it." The air thickened until you could feel silence settle like fog. Martha's legs seemed to give way beneath her. I didn't know," she stammered. Agent Sloan's expression didn't waver. "That's the issue," he said evenly. "You never bothered to find out." Then another turn. One of the agents slipped her phone from the side pocket of her bag. "Sir," he said, showing the screen to Sloan. "She's been messaging someone, name's Director Hayes, claims to be coordinating environmental inspections. This contact's got priors. Fraud, impersonation, and a weapons charge from a militia front in Nevada." Sloan's jaw tightened. "That makes this a federal matter." Martha's complexion drained to paper white. Behind me, my partner stood silent, still holding the trembling fox. I reached back and found her hand grounding us both. She squeezed once, firm. I turned to Martha, lowering my voice so only she could hear. "You thought this was just another couple to intimidate. But some of us don't play defense with fear. We play it with proof, and the right allies." Martha's lips quivered. "Please," she whispered, "don't destroy my life." I met her eyes, steady. "You tried to steal something I swore to protect." Sloan moved forward then, voice calm but final. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for attempted unlawful seizure, impersonation of a federal official, wire fraud, and conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent." Martha didn't answer. Only the sound of her uneven breathing broke the quiet. One of the agents gently clasped cuffs around her wrists. No shouting, no tears, just the slow surrender of someone watching her world cave in. Across the road, porch lights flickered on. People gathered, whispering, filming, staring. Some faces showed sympathy. Most didn't look surprised at all. Karen's reputation had stretched far and wide. She'd terrorized this neighborhood for months. Fake fines, property line, disputes threatening people with fake rule books and made-up codes. Some were too scared to speak. Others just didn't want trouble. But now they saw what trouble really looked like and what happened when it was dragged out into the light. One of the fake HOA enforcers broke down first. "Look, man, I didn't know it would go this far." Karen told us this was legal, that the guy was unstable. She even said the baby was in Danger. Monroe stared at him. You impersonated law enforcement to threaten. A military family. You're going to need more than a confession to fix that, and then like fate was playing one final card, a teenager walked up from the